you know, all due respect to them, I didn't like any of the jobs that I saw, none.
Right.
And so I got 2 offers. One was from a staging company, like a physical labor staging company. And I actually went to that twice because I just was like, I need to do something. And it was all people, most of which I'm guessing either had a criminal record. I have no problem with that. Fine.
Yeah.
Or maybe had a high school degree. It was hard to tell, but they were all chain smoking. They all hated their jobs. And that was one of over 100 jobs that I got offered with a college degree. And so I remember one day just kind of laying on my bathroom floor and thinking, everything that I was told about how to start a career and get a good job is either incomplete at best or just flat wrong. Like, this conventional wisdom is nonsense. It's totally wrong. So I have to just start from the ground up and create a strategy that I think could work. And so at the time, I'd been doing a virtual internship with Seth Godin. It was something that he opened up to thousands of people. And I think there were 200 super active people at the beginning, and there were 10 super active at the end. And I was one of those 10. And I reached out to another author named Ramit, Sethi, and I offered to him to work for free. But I didn't just come to him and say that. I noticed that Ramit was really good on video, but he never did video because video is cumbersome. It's tedious. Back then, it definitely was. It's much better now. And I'd been a video editor just as a hobby for years. And so I offered, hey, if you shoot video, I'll make it look good. And I came to him and I said, I actually put this video together for you. Here's a sample of my work. What do you think? And he was like, oh, amazing. Let's definitely do work together. And we started forming this relationship, which to me was this huge breakthrough, right?
Yeah.
Because I was like, okay, so now I know Seth Godin, and now I know Ramit Sethi, who are 2 heroes of mine, and they're well known in their respective fields. I got a foothold with them, but couldn't make any headway with any companies. Maybe I can just duplicate this strategy. And so I started approaching entrepreneurs and business owners because they had money to pay. And I would approach them and say, I found this problem that you have. I've been reviewing your company. I'm a huge fan of your company, by the way. I'm a huge fan of your work. But I found some areas where you could improve. Here's where you could improve, and here's how you can do it. I will do it for you, and I will do it for free on a trial basis. And after that trial basis is over, you can either use my work or you can throw it away. But all I would ask is, if at the end you're really happy, that we discuss a paid arrangement. And that worked like gangbusters. And so I went from being a struggling, like you said, a struggling kid, basically, in my parents' basement, laying on my bathroom floor.
That picture, picture that makes me laugh. You laying on the bathroom floor.
Yeah. Yeah. I went from that to being able to not just create work opportunities on demand, but create them with my heroes, my idols. And then after doing great work with them, that's all I needed, right? This strategy works for anybody who is not only ambitious, but can do great work. And that's a lot of people. And so I was able to start working with Tim Ferriss. I was able to start working with Tucker Max. And I still work with Tucker Max to this day, over a decade later. Tim and I have collaborated on many things over the years. And I worked with him for 3 years, all paid. And, Tim introduced me to the founders of YouTube, the founders of Uber. He let me work on a #1 New York Times bestselling book when I was 23. And they introduced me to gosh, I mean, I got approached by the former CEO of Disney, a Fortune 10 company, contacted me, sought me out. And this is not to brag,
Right.
but it's just to illustrate that, like, it was world changing, this strategy. And so that's why I wrote that book initially, Recession Proof Graduate, because it seemed insane to me that no one advocated for this. And then when I started studying it, it was like, wait a second, Warren Buffett did this. Jack Dorsey, the founder of Twitter and Square, did this. Ryan Holiday, who's now one of the best top-selling authors in the world, he did this. He and I did it. We figured it out to say we're the same age,
right?
And we ended up working with similar people, and we figured out this strategy like in parallel. And so it was like I kept seeing really successful people. And actually, the former CEO of Disney, Michael Ovitz, he approached me after seeing my TED Talk, and he was like, I just wanted to tell you, thought it was great because that's exactly how I started my career. Mm-hmm. So it was like these super successful people knew that the strategy was not to apply for a job like you would audition for American Idol. It was to create value. It was to start as though you'd already been hired and say, I'm just here. I'm already playing the game, whether you say yes or not.
Right.
You can guide me and make sure I do it well, but I started. I'm not waiting for you to pick me. And so it was a huge game-changing shift. And I've taught it to a lot of people. I've seen phenomenal results from a lot of people. I've had people tell me stories of them getting hired by Steve Jobs, literally on the spot, doing stuff like this when Steve Jobs was alive, of course. So it's super powerful. A reader of, I'll share one more story, then I'll stop. I know I've been going for a while. A reader of mine reached out in 2008, 9, I can't remember. And he and I talked on the phone. His name was Ryan Graves. And at the time he was living in Chicago, and he told me that he'd landed a job with Foursquare in California by basically he loved Foursquare, but no one knew what that was in Chicago. And so he went around door to door to 20 businesses and showed them the application, showed them the app, and then he set up their accounts and got them started on it. And then he asked every CEO, every business owner to email the CEO of Foursquare on the same day. I wonder if he got hired. He did. And then he parlayed, he leveraged that job into his next job, where he was one of the first 3 employees at Uber.
Yeah.
And he became CEO of Uber. And he was a billionaire by the time he was 35. And so, like, people have such resistance to working for free, which is crazy to me, because it's like, you've been working for free for over a decade in school, right?
Yes.
Like, you never got paid. So what is your resistance to creating some projects for yourself right now with the people you want to work with today? Anybody can do it.
So, I was thinking the other day of my journey is, how many times I interviewed for jobs and was told no. I made 2 really strong runs at becoming a State Farm agent. And they said, meh. And to think about how many times we get rejected trying to live up to someone else's standard, when probably that story right there is very common amongst business leaders, really good ones, or entrepreneurs who just said, well, I'm going to go start my own business. Well, the reason you didn't get hired is because you didn't have all these qualifications and past resume of all this. So they said no, and they're evaluating you based on your past performance, not being able to see what your future value would be. And yet we have it, but we struggle with this thing in our mind that whether we give ourselves permission to go ahead and own it, just do it anyway.
Yes. Yeah. And it's to that point, it's not fair to the employer either to have that process. It's like, you're trying to figure out how to put somebody on your payroll and insert them into your precious company culture
Right.
based on bullet points in a single piece of paper
Right.
on their past performance, which anybody can lie about, by the way.
Yes.
Like, you have to do your due diligence. It's crazy.
I don't even, when I interview people, I don't even look at their resume. I'm
Right.
really, if I did, the interviews I love are the ones. How about, so the typical setup is you're gonna come to me wanting a job, so I'm gonna sit and interrogate you and try to discern, right? If I was to flip it and go, how about this? You ask me all the questions you want to ask. Then if you led with, how about I do this? How about I do this? I was studying your business and I'm seeing where you're struggling in this area. So I want to do this for a bit. I'll do it for free, but just to be fair, if you like my work, would you hire me? That's what you did.
That is exactly what I did. And I'm curious, as a business owner yourself, if someone came to you with that offer,
Mm-hmm.
what would your response be?
I admire those people because I've done that. I relate with them because I've thought those things myself. I respect them, and I try to figure out a way to let them try to fit into our organization. And I struggle with, so you come to me, I'm a business owner. So what I'm supposed to do is pick a great fit off a short little conversation. There's a lot at risk for me. And if you and I were going to go hunting, let's say we're going to go hunting pheasants, but we didn't have dogs. So we stopped by the rescue center and we walk in there and there's all these dogs lined up. What kind of dog would we go and pick to take with us? It'd be a Labrador or it'd be a bird dog, right? We'd walk in there and it'd be real clear to us the dog we need to hire for this position that would be set up for success. We wouldn't pick a poodle. We wouldn't pick a border collie because they're going to be scared of, they would ruin everything. Well, that's what we're doing, but we can't discern our pedigree, so to speak, when we're seeing someone. So to walk in and go, hey, I've been looking at this, you're identifying your pedigree, if you will.
This is who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And
exactly right.
And the people that you looked up to, they loved that. They respected that. And then they would do what? That you were so important to them. They introduced you to other people.
Yeah.
I just love that.